You are an idiot if your music is not on Spotify. Hey guys, this is Stephen Malin, music composer, educator, and arranger, helping you to elevate your story. Today is a hot topic, but first, I have cool news.
Check it out. I recently have had over 500,000 streams on Spotify alone. So what the heck does that mean? Well, if you go over to my sound drop statement, it's not a ton of money, but hey, look. That means I've made about $80, $90 every single month for the last 3 years.
So if you do that math, that's almost $3,000 that I've made just from Spotify. And this is literally one album, 12 tracks plus a couple singles that they've just streamed that many times that I've earned basically $3,000 just from streaming. Now, there has been such an incredible amount of backlash from artists and from, I guess, just internet trolls who over the last few years, they have made such a mockery out of the name of Spotify because they keep saying, oh, they only pay, fractions of a penny per stream, so it's devaluing the music industry and it's causing everyone to just kill the whole music industry, basically, because no one values music, no one's making any money from this. But you know what? What a cool thing that we live in 2018 and technology is so advanced that on your phone right now, you're probably watching YouTube or you're listening to a podcast right now and you're probably traveling, you're probably on the go somewhere. You might be mowing the lawn or whatever. It's like you are on the go and you're listening to this right now. You're listening to music because you can. You might be in your car, right? It's everywhere now and it's not going anywhere. In fact, the stats are absolutely staggering, and that's what I want to open your eyes to today, because this was recently opened to my eyes and I am so blown away by the possibilities of what Spotify is about to do for my income, and I'm just blown away. So let's actually take a look. I want to compare today between all of the major streaming platforms and why I believe Spotify dominates them all and what the data has to say about it. So let's take a look at a chart real quick. Okay, let's take a look at the chart because this data should tell you everything you need to know about the music industry. First on the list is Spotify. Per stream, an artist will receive $0.00397, which means about 30%, 40% of 1 penny per stream. Now, of course, that sounds incredibly low, but you'll understand why that's actually an okay number. Now, compare that to Apple iTunes, which is Apple Music, per stream $0.00783, which is about double the amount, and then Pandora in third, $0.00134. Now, I don't even want to focus on any other stores such as Google Play, Amazon Music, Deezer, Tidal, Rhapsody, YouTube, Xbox Music, or any others on this list because they are so abysmally low on the percentage of streams and the percentage of who's actually listening that you could pay $10 per stream on something like PlayStation Network. Who cares? 0.1% of people are going there to listen to music. So it's so unbelievable how low those percentages are. So you're not going to make money. It doesn't matter how high the per stream rate is. And unfortunately, right now, that is one of the biggest pushes for Tidal, which is the streaming service owned by Jay-Z, who they're pushing that, they pay higher than everybody else with 0.01284. Yeah, that is considerably more. It's about 4 times more what Spotify pays, but they have such a tiny percentage of the industry that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't pay out at the end, if you do the math. But the biggest comparison I want everyone to see here today, because if you're watching this on YouTube in particular, as someone who uses YouTube as a platform for streaming music sometimes, personally, YouTube is the lowest of the low. It's actually number 29 on the list, I believe. It is so unbelievably low. It is 0.00074. Currently in the United States, the average monthly minimum wage is $1,472. Now, of course, that's not the same across the world, but at that dollar amount, if we were to do some basic averages of how many streams it would take per platform in order to get that amount of money, that's probably the best way to judge which platform is going to do the best for you. Spotify, per stream, at the 0.00397, you need about 350,000 plays to get that money. Apple Music, you need about half that amount. So somewhere in the 150,000 to 200,000 plays. Compare that with YouTube, and you would need 2.5 million views to make up in the ad revenue. And that's bad. That's really, really bad. To get 2.5 million views and it only amounts for $1,400. That's pretty terrible. So the second category we have to look at is the amount of people visiting that site. Now, Spotify is at 47.78% of the market. Apple Music is at 10.48%. Pandora, surprisingly, has shot up this past year, is now at 21.56%. And everyone else is lower than 3%, with the exception of YouTube, which has multiple billions of people watching it. That's at 8.38%, but it does not make up for the fact that their per stream is so incredibly low. The data doesn't lie. 50% of the market right now is on Spotify. And some recent stats from Spotify back in February 28th, 2018, so a few weeks ago, they had 159 million active users. 71 million of them were paid subscribers, and Spotify projects to have 100 million paying subscribers by 2020. That's only a couple years from now. There are 30 million songs on Spotify, and they add over 20,000 songs per day. Spotify has paid $5 billion to artists. They have over 2 billion Spotify playlists. There are 5 million Spotify playlists that get created or edited every day. 52% of Spotify listeners are listening on their phone, which is proof that our world has become more mobile than ever. So it's really obvious that Spotify is the best platform for you to put your music, because from a marketing standpoint, if you are someone who writes music, you want to get your music out, you want it to be listened to. Now, in the traditional model, places like SoundCloud have been the go-to platform for musicians to go to share their music, but every time people are listening, thousands upon thousands of times, you don't get paid at all. The best case scenario is you link them to an album, and they, 1 in 10,000 might actually buy your album, and then you make $7, $8, but that's so puny compared to actually getting paid for every single stream. And the best part of this is our technology is continuing to improve. So if you think about it, cars are now coming out with Wi-Fi. So what that means is maybe 5 years from now, just kind of projecting into the future, everyone's going to be so connected to the internet and have no excuse of poor data or whatnot, that everyone's gonna be listening to music. Everybody's gonna be watching videos. Cars are now driving themselves. So we live in a world that is constantly changing every single year, and your music needs to be in the best possible place to be heard. Now, we also live in a day and age where, yes, the value of music has certainly decreased, and that is just a fact of life ever since the CD era has passed us, where Blockbuster is gone from renting movies, etc.
people don't go buy physical albums. They just don't. No one wants to keep those around. And even myself as a consumer, I don't like owning CDs anymore. I like to have digital streaming. And I can't tell you the last soundtrack I bought, the last album I bought, because it's been years now, because I stream all the time, because it's either free through Spotify or from a paid service, right? And you're only paying like $10 a month, similar to Netflix or Hulu. It's now become the norm within our country, at least within the United States and worldwide. It's becoming a trend that streaming is really the way to go from a consumer standpoint. That's why YouTube has done so well, because people don't want to pay for videos. They just want to get free information and then maybe pay for something more substantial. But in the music industry, it's all about providing free, great value. And so it makes sense that the freemium model of Spotify continues to dominate. Now, I will say that Apple Music is climbing through the ranks. It is only 10.48%, but I wouldn't completely ignore it. So if you are putting out your albums on Spotify, I would also put them on Apple Music. And if you have the option of putting it on Pandora, that'd be another one. But I wouldn't care at all about Amazon or Google, because they're just not doing well and they have no track record of doing well in the music space. Deezer doesn't really matter, Tidal doesn't matter, Rhapsody, YouTube, I would just avoid them. They're not worth your time. But Spotify and Apple Music are really gonna be the best places to put it. And the reason I mentioned Apple Music is because there is nothing stopping Apple in their very next iPhone update. Let's say the iPhone 9 or even the iPhone 11, whatever's coming next, even just 1 year from now, or even the end of this year. We don't know yet, it hasn't been announced. There's nothing stopping Apple from pulling the monopoly card of making Apple Music a mandatory service that is billed as a package within your normal service. There's nothing stopping them from just tacking on that $10 to the service of the next update. They could do this tomorrow. And to be honest, people wouldn't complain about it. Some people would, but if that just became the norm where they tucked that in, that would mean that Apple Music is now a free, or it would feel like a free service, that people would start using that, and those same customers who would then maybe revoke their subscription to Spotify or some of these other services, they now have free Apple Music. So you don't want to be the artist that doesn't have their music on Apple Music if and or when that situation occurs. And there are some purists who don't want to go to Spotify who are Apple users, and vice versa. So there's no reason to not be on both. That's kind of my mentality there. But if you could only pick one, the numbers don't lie, that Spotify is really where it's at right now. By the way, music streaming as of 2018 is now 51% of all music income globally. That's a crazy stat. So that means performances and concerts and album sales and physical music, digital music, streaming has now won the battle, and it's going to continue winning the battle. It's going to go up this year for sure. And of that, last year, 2017, Spotify did have 70% of the market share, but with Apple Music coming forward, with Pandora really starting to rise in the ranks, even YouTube coming up, that has stolen so much of the market, all the way down to where Spotify is only 47.78%. But hey, that's still a considerable amount compared to second place Pandora at 21 and Apple at 10.48. So, you know, it's going to change. It's going to continue to shift, and the per stream rate will continue to change. But my story is that 3 years ago, I put a 12-track album. It was a video game piano album. I put that on Spotify, and since then made about $3,000 with 500,000 streams. Now, I didn't do anything with that. There was no promotion. I literally plopped those on there, walked away, and came back to a lot of money. Now, of course, those are more searchable terms, being famous video game tunes, so those obviously get a little bit more traction. But what I've learned in the little bit of time of researching this recently, that Spotify growth is all about getting your music on playlists. Spotify has actually recently come out with Spotify Artists. Now this is an app you can download to your mobile, or you can do this on your desktop, on a laptop, but it allows you to go inside your profile and actually spruce it up a little bit. It allows you to create your own playlist, attach them to your Spotify account. So when people visit your page, you can take all of your albums, combine them together, and make playlists by categories or by your favorite tracks, whatever. And this way, when you link through social media or through YouTube or whatever, you can just give that link. And now instead of people just seeing one of your tracks or one album, which would be maybe 12 tracks, they're gonna see 30 tracks, 50 tracks. And if you are someone who is updating these constantly, maybe once a week, changing up the order, you can actually get a lot of traction. And now followers can follow a particular playlist of yours, and doing so allows them to maybe once a week or several times a week, they're gonna be able to see your updates, and they're going to constantly listen to your tracks. So if you do the math, it doesn't take a lot of work to get 500,000 streams, because on streaming, what makes it different from downloads is when you download something, you buy it once and they're gonna listen to it as many times as they want to. But with streaming, because they don't own it, most people are probably gonna listen to a track. If it's good and they like it, they're gonna listen to it twice. So that number already has been cut in half. So 500,000 is actually only about 250,000 people. And then if you have an album, let's just say 10 tracks, for example, that you can then divide that amount by the 250,000. And so now an entire album, it just means you need to get about 25,000 listens per track, or 25,000 people to listen to your album. And that's not that hard to do. And you can do that pretty regularly if you are someone who either does cover music that's super searchable, or if it's your own personal music, just use social media to share that with people and be consistent. So I mentioned this specifically on this channel because we have a lot of music creators, we have a lot of composers here, video game composers, film composers. I'm not saying you should put everything out to sell and to stream. You could, but if you have handfuls of tracks, as most composers do, I probably have over 100 or 200 tracks that I could put on there today. And I could just categorize them and organize them. That's what I'm starting to do. It's actually literally what I was doing right before this video, is I'm organizing my music to put on Spotify. And this has been something I've been working on for about 2 weeks now. Once I found out these stats, they just blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. That this was true, that Spotify is doing so well, and there's such an incredible user base there. So as a composer, I'm gonna start putting my music on there a lot. And I'm going to use my cover music of video game music. It's highly searchable. You know, people are gonna type in Zelda, they're gonna type in Mario, they're gonna type in Donkey Kong, Final Fantasy, and that's gonna draw them to my account. And once they hear a really cool cover that they like, they're gonna follow me. And then they're going to notice, oh wow, he also writes music for games, he writes music for movies. Let me check out some of that stuff. And because I have really interesting playlists already assembled, and because I already have it organized in such a cool, easy way, they're gonna click on that, and then they're gonna all of a sudden have a ton of great music to listen to that I've pruned, that I've carefully gone through and made sure that it's good to listen to. Because I'm not gonna put everything I've ever written on there, but just the stuff that I know is good, high quality, that's easy to share. So I'm creating a system, I'm creating a model that is going to grow itself. And already I have seen, just since last week releasing more music, my monthly income, I've only had one cycle since then, but it has already shot up about 20-30%. So I know that as I continue to invest in this platform, it's going to continue to give returns. So much more than trying to sell Bandcamp albums or trying to put free streaming on YouTube or on SoundCloud, because those just don't pay. They don't actually pay the bills. But instead I can offer free music as it's perceived for those who are on Spotify, and it's gonna start paying. So I'm really excited about this process of continuing to update my playlist. So if you're interested in that, check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. And if you have a Spotify playlist, share it with me. I want to check out your music, and I know that our community wants to check out your music. So let's continue sharing in this way. And heck, we could probably start to assemble our own playlist that encompass all of our music, and then all of our channels will grow together and all of our streams will go up. It's a whole process that if we can do this together as a community, it's going to grow even faster and stronger, and we're going to have even higher quality music, which is extremely, extremely awesome. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. Keep sharing these videos. I know that they've been extremely helpful for a lot of people. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time.